Let's look at the third link on the house sell page. Select one customer. Okay, when we click on that link, it opens up a web page called one_customer1.php. So the story here is that we want to select one customer. So we're thinking about selecting one record. So the idea of uniqueness. So we should use the primary key in order to pick the customer. So essentially what we do here is we select all the customers on this page and we write them into a selection list here. Okay, so pick a customer and we have got that selection list required. We've got our first option has no value, and then the other three options here are actual customers. So let's inspect that and look at what's happening here from the HTML point of view. Here's our selection list, and you can see the value here is just a number, okay, not the name of the customer. So these numbers are the customer ID, customer_ID, which is the primary key from that database table, the database table customer. And then what's in there between the open and closing option tag is the customer_name value. Okay, so all we need are two fields from each record, customer_ID, primary key, and customer_name. So we have to pick one of them. Okay, so let's take Joseph Duffy, click select, and we're now on to the second page here, onecustomer2.php. And essentially, what is this going to have done? This should bring up Joseph Duffy, and essentially we have selected that one record, and we are displaying all of the data just in a HTML table like this, with the primary key up there. We select somebody different. You notice these are in alphabetical order. The boss, see different primary key, different person. So let's look at the code. How are we doing all this? What is new here? So this is onecustomer1.php. We connect, or includes for nav and header, and then here is our HTML. Okay, so here's our query. In fact, sorry, I made a mistake there. We are actually selecting three fields. Okay, the ID, the first name, and the surname. And we are going to order them by customer surname in ascending order. Okay, so that's our query. So we have the usual thing here. We need to create the prepared statement. We need to execute that, fetch them all, and excuse me, store them in that 2D associative array, all underscore queries, and then loop through them all. And let's think about this from a HTML point of view. We are looping them and basically spitting them out into selection list options. So before we run the query, we need to first of all open the select tag like that, and then create our, if you like, our false value, just the helpful information with no value, like so. They're done once, okay, and then for each record we want to write an option with a value, and as usual be careful with the quotation marks, single for HTML and double for PHP strings, like so. Okay, so what are we going to do with these three fields for each record? We are going to put customer ID as the value of the option, and then we are going to put the other two as the text that appears for the option, separated by a comma. Okay, a comma and space. Okay, so that's the first one there. That's the first page there. Let's look at the form. Click on the submit button. Action brings us to the second page. Method equals post. If this was method equals get, which is the other possibility, that would display the data in the URL. For example, if you do a Google search in Google, you'll see whatever you've searched for up in the address bar. Okay, so we click on the submit button. We are going to go to one customer 2, and remember, whatever value we've picked, because it's required, we have to have picked an option with a value. So we have to have picked one of these options that we have written with a for each loop. Okay, and so the customer ID will be passed, and that is going to become the value of this selection list called which customer. So we need to be looking for which customer at the top of the second page. There it is there. Okay, if it was method equals get, this would be $_get, capital G-E-T. So we're storing that in that customer. So now we're able to select one customer using this here. So here is our code here. Okay, so we have a select where. This is going to give us one that customer, our temporary PHP variable, to store the value of the selection list from the previous page. We need to sanitize that, the usual thing, strip off the dollar, put in the colon, and put it in quotation marks. Okay, and then use that in our query. So where customer ID, okay, so remember what this is. This is the name of the primary key field in the customer database table, customer_ID. Okay, so in these examples, I have used the names of fields in database tables. They tend to be an underscore in them somewhere for joining up words, whereas for PHP variables, I've tended to use them in camel case with no underscores, just so you can try and see the difference of what's happening here. So what are we doing here? We are going to create a table, and I need to create a table tag once before the loop. Okay, so we have the usual thing. I'm just going to count how many records, so we'll initialize that to 0, that variable to 0 at the start. Our for each loop, so each record goes into this 1D associative array, and then we just have that 1D associative array, square brackets, and then whatever the name of the field is in the database table, spelled exactly the same. Okay, like that. So that will display all our records then in a HTML table.